Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his massive warship and smiled with cold satisfaction. The Dominion's fist stretched 15 kilometers from front to back and carried enough firepower to destroy entire worlds. Around him, thousands of alien crew members worked at their stations with practiced efficiency. They had done this many times before. The Caltharian Empire had ruled this part of space for 3,000 years. Their ships were the strongest in the galaxy. Their weapons could crack moons in half. Their shields had never been broken by any enemy force. Every species they had met either bowed down or died screaming. Vextar looked at the display showing their current target, a small yellow star with several planets orbiting around it. The third planet from the sun looked blue and green and seemed perfect for what they needed. According to the scouts, it was full of creatures called humans, sir. "We have reached the edge of their system," reported his communications officer. "The humans have detected our presence and are sending signals." "What do they say?" Vextar asked with amusement. He always enjoyed the first contact with new species. They were usually so frightened and confused. They are asking who we are and what we want. They seem curious rather than afraid. Vextar laughed. These humans clearly had no idea what was about to happen to them. "Open a channel. Let me speak to whoever leads this pathetic world." On the other side of the solar system, Captain Kang Jiwan was having the worst day of his career. His patrol ship Soul's Pride was small and fast, but carried only basic weapons. It was designed to stop pirates and smugglers, not deal with alien invaders. "Captain, the alien ships are enormous," his sensor operator reported with a shaky voice. "I count at least 50 vessels. The largest one is bigger than anything we have ever built." Kang Jiwan stared at the readings on his screen. The alien flagship was so massive that it had its own gravity field. Its hull was covered in weapon systems that his computer could not identify. Whatever these aliens wanted, they clearly had the power to take it by force. "Get me a direct line to Earth Defense Command," he ordered. "They need to know what we are dealing with." Back on Earth, Dr. Park Minji was working late in her laboratory when the emergency alert came through. As the head of Earth's xenobiology department, she was one of the few people prepared for this moment. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer. "Dr. Park, you need to get to the command center immediately," her assistant said breathlessly. "We have made contact with an alien civilization." She grabbed her coat and ran to the elevator. During the ride up to the command center, her mind raced with possibilities. Were they friendly explorers? Scientists seeking knowledge? Or something far more dangerous? The command center was chaos when she arrived. Military officers were shouting orders while scientists tried to make sense of the alien signals. Admiral Lee So-young, the highest-ranking officer present, looked grim as she approached. "Doctor, thank goodness you are here. We need someone who understands first contact protocols. The aliens are demanding to speak with our leaders." "What do they want?" Park Minji asked. "We don't know yet, but their fleet could destroy our entire space force without breaking a sweat." On the main screen, they could see the alien admiral. He was tall and thin with gray skin and 4 arms. His eyes glowed with an inner light that seemed cold and cruel. When he spoke, his voice was translated by the computer system's primitive humans of the third planet. "I am Admiral Vextar of the Caltharian Empire. You will surrender immediately and prepare to serve your new masters." The room fell silent. Park Minji felt her blood turn cold. These were not peaceful explorers or curious scientists. They were conquerors. "We demand 1 billion of your kind as slaves," Vextar continued. "Your strongest males will work in our mines. Your females will breed more workers. Your children will be trained from birth to serve the Empire." General Kim Do-hyun, Earth's top military commander, stepped forward. "We refuse your demands. Earth is a free world and will remain so." Vextar's laugh echoed through the speakers. "Free? You speak of freedom when you have no power to defend it? Let me show you the price of defiance." The transmission cut to an external view. One of the smaller alien ships, still larger than Earth's biggest warship, moved toward Jupiter. Its weapons began to glow with terrible energy. "Target, Europa," Vextar's voice announced calmly. The alien ship fired a single beam of bright purple light. The beam struck Jupiter's ice moon and Europa simply vanished. One moment it was there, a world of ice and hidden oceans. The next moment there was nothing but expanding debris and glowing gas. The command center was dead quiet. Everyone stared at the screen in horror. Europa had been completely destroyed by one shot from one ship, and the aliens had 50 such vessels. "Now, do you understand?" Vextar asked. "We could destroy your pathetic world just as easily, but we need workers, not corpses. You have 7 of your days to prepare the slaves we have demanded. Refuse, and your entire species will join that moon, in oblivion." The transmission ended. For several long minutes, nobody spoke. The most powerful people on Earth sat in stunned silence, trying to process what they had just witnessed. Finally, Admiral Lee So-young found her voice. "Options. I need options, people." "We could evacuate the population," suggested Colonel Nam Jihya. "Get as many people as possible off-world before they attack." "Evacuate to where?" General Kim Do-yeon replied bitterly. "They control space now, there is nowhere to run." "What about negotiation?" Park Min-ji asked desperately. "Maybe we can find some middle ground. Offer them something else instead of slaves." "Did you see what they did to Europa?" Kim Do-hyun snapped. "These are not reasonable beings, they are predators and we are prey." Deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, Dr. Yoon Jisoo received the emergency call in her hidden laboratory. For 5 years she had worked on humanity's most secret project. The politicians called it defense research. The military called it a deterrent. She called it humanity's only hope. "Doctor, you need to see the news," her assistant said urgently. "The aliens are real and they are here." Yoon Jisoo watched the footage of Europa's destruction with cold calculation. She had always known this day might come. That was why Project Prometheus existed. That was why they had spent every resource Earth could spare on a single desperate gamble. "How long until the prototype is ready?" she asked her chief engineer. "We are still running tests on the power core. The antimatter containment system needs at least another month of calibration." "We don't have a month," she replied grimly. "We have 7 days. Make it work, Captain Shin." Kyungmin was loading civilian transports when the announcement came through. The government was beginning emergency evacuations of major cities. They told people it was just a precaution, but everyone knew better. The footage of Europa's destruction was playing on every news channel. "Sir, where are we supposed to take them?" his pilot asked. "If the aliens control the space around Earth, the transport ships will be sitting ducks." Shin Kyungmin had no answer. The underground shelters might protect people from nuclear war, but not from weapons that could destroy moons. Still, he had to try. It was better than doing nothing. Commander Cho Hyok volunteered for the most dangerous mission of his career. Someone needed to get close to the alien fleet and gather intelligence. His stealth ship Busan Runner was humanity's most advanced reconnaissance vessel, but against alien technology it might as well be made of paper. "Remember, your job is to observe and report," Admiral Lee So-young told him before launch. "Don't try to be a hero. We need information, not martyrs." Cho Hyok nodded and sealed his helmet. As his ship slipped away from Earth's orbital defenses, he wondered if he would ever see home again. The alien fleet waited in the darkness beyond Mars, and he was flying straight toward them, 7 days. That was all humanity had left before the Caltharian Empire returned to collect their billion slaves. 7 days to find a miracle or watch their world burn. The second day brought terrible news from deep space. Commander Cho Hyok had managed to get close enough to the alien fleet to see something that made his blood freeze. The Caltharians were not just planning to take slaves, they were preparing for a total conquest. "Admiral, you need to see this," he transmitted back to Earth on an encrypted channel. "They have construction ships building orbital platforms. This is not a raid. This is permanent occupation." Back on Earth, Admiral Lee So-young studied the reconnaissance photos with growing horror. The alien platforms were equipped with massive weapon systems pointed directly at Earth. Even if humanity somehow defeated the fleet, those platforms could bombard the planet from orbit. "There is more," Cho Hyok continued. "I intercepted some of their communications. They are not just taking our people as slaves. They plan to harvest our genetic material for something called the Bioweapon Project. After that, they will kill everyone else. The command center fell silent. Park Minji felt sick to her stomach. These aliens were not just conquerors. They were exterminators planning to wipe out the entire human race. Get Commander Cho back here safely, Lee So-young ordered. We need every ship we can get. General Kim Do-hyun was already making preparations for what everyone knew would be a hopeless fight. Earth's entire space fleet consisted of 200 ships. Most of them were destroyers and frigates designed to patrol the solar system, not fight a galactic empire. Sir, the orbital defense platforms are online, reported Colonel Nam Ji-hye, but their firepower is designed to stop asteroids and comets, not warships. It will have to do, Kim Do-hyun replied grimly. Deploy everything we have between Earth and the alien fleet. When they come, we make them pay for every kilometer, Captain. Lim Tae-hyung received his orders aboard the destroyer Daegu's Vengeance. His ship was one of Earth's newest and most powerful warships, but compared to the alien vessels, it was like a rowboat facing a battleship. Sir, the crew is asking questions, his first officer reported. They want to know if we have any chance of winning. Tell them the truth, Tae-hyung replied. We probably don't, but we are going to fight anyway because that is what humans do. We protect our home. Deep in the hidden laboratories, Dr. Yoon Jisoo pushed her team beyond all reasonable limits. The Project Prometheus prototype needed to be ready in 5 days, but the systems were still untested. One mistake with the antimatter core would destroy half the mountain. Doctor, the power coupling is unstable, her chief engineer reported. We need at least 3 more days to run proper safety tests. Safety tests? Yoon Jisoo laughed bitterly. In 5 days there might not be anyone left alive to care about safety. Override the protocols and bring the reactor online. That is insane. If the containment field fails, if we don't try, we are all dead anyway. Do it. Flight leader Han Yejin was training her pilots for what she knew would be their final mission. Earth's fighter squadrons were fast and maneuverable, but their weapons were designed to destroy missiles and small craft, not capital ships. Remember, we are not trying to destroy their big ships, she told her squadron. We are trying to distract them and buy time for the evacuation transports, hit their sensor arrays and communication systems. One of her young pilots raised his hand. Ma'am, what if we can't penetrate their defenses? Then we ram them, she replied simply. A fighter moving at full speed can do a lot of damage, even to a battleship. Make your deaths count. On the 4th day, the situation became desperate. Emperor Zalthek himself arrived in the solar system aboard the super dreadnought Eternal Dominance. The massive ship was 25 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to sterilize entire continents. People of Earth, his voice boomed across every communication channel. I am Zalthek, Emperor of the Caltharian Empire. Your time is running short. In 3 days we will come to collect what is ours. Dr. Park Minji tried one last desperate attempt at negotiation. Your Majesty, perhaps we can reach some other arrangement. Earth has resources other than people. We have rare minerals, scientific knowledge, cultural artifacts. The Emperor's laughter cut her off. You think you have anything we want other than your bodies? We have strip-mined 1,000 worlds. We have enslaved species far more advanced than you. You have nothing to offer except your service. Then why not let us serve willingly? She pressed. Voluntary cooperation is always more efficient than slavery. Because breaking you is half the pleasure, Zalthek replied coldly. We do not just want your obedience. We want your despair. We want you to know that your resistance was meaningless, Captain. Shin Kyungmin was loading the last evacuation transports when the priority message came through. The hidden laboratories in the Himalayas needed immediate protection. Something called Project Prometheus was humanity's last hope. Sir, we have orders to deploy the Seoul Defense Battalion around the mountain installations, his aide reported. Whatever they are building in there, command considers it more important than the civilian evacuations. Shin Kyungmin felt a cold knot in his stomach. If the military was abandoning civilian protection for some secret project, things must be even worse than he thought. Admiral Bae Sun-woo took command of Earth's defensive fleet on the 5th day. 200 ships arranged in a desperate formation between Earth and the approaching alien armada. He knew it was suicide, but someone had to buy time for whatever miracle the scientists were working on. "All ships, this is Admiral Bae," he broadcast to the fleet. "Today we make our stand. Not because we can win, but because this is our home. Fight well, and may we meet again in whatever comes after." The response from his captains was immediate and unanimous. For Earth, Commander Yu Dong-hae was one of the few people who knew the truth about Project Prometheus. As the weapons officer for the secret project, he had spent months learning to operate systems that seemed like magic. Antimatter cannons, gravity manipulators, quantum torpedoes, weapons that humanity had only dreamed about. "Sir, the targeting computers are online," he reported to the engineering team, "but we have never tested any of this in actual combat." "There's a first time for everything," Dr. Yoon Jisoo replied from across the control room. "Besides, it either works, or we all die. Simple choice." On the 6th day, panic gripped the major cities. Despite government censorship, word of the coming invasion had spread. Riots broke out in London, Tokyo, and New York as people fought for places on the evacuation ships. In Seoul, Captain Kang Ji-won found himself guarding refugee camps. "Instead of patrolling space, sir, we have reports of looting and violence in Sector 7, his communications officer reported. "The local police are requesting military support. Send a squad," Kang Ji-won ordered wearily. "But tell them to use minimum force. These people are terrified, not criminals." Dr. Oh Sun-mi was making final adjustments to the artificial intelligence system that would help control Project Prometheus. The ship was so advanced that no human crew could operate it effectively. They needed computer assistance that bordered on true consciousness. "System status report," she asked the prototype AI. "All primary systems are functional," the computer replied in a voice that sounded almost human. "Warning: power core is operating beyond recommended parameters. Structural integrity of the vessel is untested under combat conditions. Will it work when we need it to?" There was a pause that seemed almost thoughtful. "Probability of mission. Success is impossible to calculate. Too many unknown variables. But the alternative is certain extinction." On the 7th and final day, the Caltharian fleet began its approach to Earth. Emperor Zalthek had given humanity exactly the time he had promised, and now he had come to collect his billion slaves. "People of Earth," his voice echoed across the planet one last time. "Your time has expired. Prepare to meet your new masters." In the hidden command center, Dr. Park Min-ji activated the emergency broadcast system. Her message went out to every human settlement in the solar system, from the lunar colonies to the mining stations around Saturn. "This is Dr. Park Min-ji speaking for the government of Earth. The alien ultimatum has expired, and we have chosen to resist. To all humans listening to this message, remember that we are not just fighting for our own lives, but for the right of any species to be free. Whatever happens next, we face it together." Deep in the Himalayan laboratories, Dr. Yoon Jisoo stood before the final control panel. Project Prometheus was as ready as it would ever be. The ship's systems were untested, its weapons unproven, and its hull held together by humanity's most desperate engineering. "All stations report ready," Commander Yu Dong-hae announced. "Antimatter core is stable. Weapon systems are charged. Gravity drive is online. Then it is time to see if 5 years of work can save our species," Yoon Jisoo replied. She turned to the communication system and spoke the words that would either save humanity or mark their final moments. "Project Prometheus, you are cleared for launch." The mountain above them split open like a flower, revealing the hidden construction, bays that had consumed Earth's entire industrial output for half a decade. And from those bays, something emerged that would change the course of galactic history forever. Admiral Bae Sun-woo watched his fleet take formation as the alien armada approached Mars. 200 human ships faced over 1,000 Caltharian vessels. The math was simple and terrifying. Each alien battleship outgunned his entire squadron. All ships weapons free, he commanded. Target the smaller escorts first. Try to even the odds before they bring their big guns to bear. The first shots of the battle came from Earth's long-range missile platforms hidden in the asteroid belt. Thousands of nuclear warheads streaked toward the alien fleet, moving at incredible speeds. For a moment, Bei Sunwoo allowed himself to hope. The hope died quickly. The Caltharian point defense systems were beyond anything humanity had imagined. Laser grids and particle beams swept space clean of missiles. Not a single warhead reached its target. "Sir, the aliens are launching fighters," his tactical officer reported. "Thousands of them." Captain Lim Tae-hyung aboard the Daigu's Vengeance was the first to engage the enemy directly. His destroyer's plasma cannons fired at maximum range, sending bolts of superheated gas toward a Caltharian cruiser. The alien ship's shields absorbed the attack without even flickering. In response, a single energy beam from the cruiser punched through the Vengeance's armor like it was made of paper. Half of Tae-hyung's crew died in that first exchange. "Damage report," he shouted over the alarms. "Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. Engine room is gone. We are running on emergency power." Tae-hyung looked at the tactical display. His ship was dying, but the alien cruiser showed no damage at all. Their technology gap was even worse than Earth scientists had feared. "All hands prepare for ramming speed," he announced calmly. "We cannot win a shooting match, but maybe we can take one of them with us." Flight leader Han Yejin led her fighter squadron into the swirling chaos of the battle. Human fighters were fast and agile, but the Caltharian craft were protected by the same energy shields that made their capital ships nearly invulnerable. "Dragon Squadron, focus fire on their engine pods," she ordered. "Maybe we can disable their propulsion." Her fighters swarmed around an alien destroyer, firing everything they had. Laser cannons, particle beams, and micro-missiles hammered the enemy ship's rear section. "The shields absorbed it all, ma'am. We are not even scratching them," one of her pilots reported in despair. "Then we get creative," she replied grimly. "All fighters, switch to ramming formation. We are going to punch holes in their hull the hard way." Admiral Bei Sunwoo watched the battle unfold with growing desperation. His ships were fighting with courage that would have made legends, but courage was not enough against superior technology. Already he had lost 50 vessels, while the aliens had barely taken damage. "Sir, the eternal dominance is moving forward," his sensor operator announced. "The Emperor's ship is joining the battle." The super dreadnought was a mobile fortress 25 kilometers long. Its main guns were larger than most human ships. When it opened fire, entire squadrons of Earth's fleet simply vanished in balls of plasma. "This is Admiral Bei to all ships," he broadcast. "We cannot win this fight, but we can make them remember it. Give them hell." Captain Kang Ji-won had brought his patrol ship Seoul's Pride forward, despite orders to stay back. The little vessel was not built for ship-to-ship combat, but every gun counted. "Now, sir, there is an alien fighter heading straight for us," his pilot announced evasive maneuvers. "Try to get behind that debris field." The Seoul's Pride twisted and turned through the wreckage of destroyed human ships. Behind them, the alien fighter stayed in pursuit. Its weapons charging for the killing shot. Commander Cho Hyuk had returned from his scouting mission just in time to join the battle. His stealth ship Busan Runner was nearly invisible to most sensors, but the Caltharian technology was more advanced than anything Earth had faced. "Runner, this is command. We need you to get close to their flagship. Try to identify weak points." Cho Hyuk knew it was a suicide mission, but someone had to try. His ship slipped between the battling fleets, using the weapons fire and explosions as cover. The Emperor's super dreadnought filled his entire view screen up close. The eternal dominance was even more terrifying. Its hull was covered with weapon systems, shield generators, and sensor arrays. But as Cho Hyuk studied the massive ship, he noticed something strange. There were gaps in the energy field around the engine section. "Command, I think I found something," he transmitted. "Their shields have blind spots near the main drives. If we could get a ship close enough." A Caltharian patrol craft spotted him before he could finish the message. Energy beams tore through the Busan Runner's stealth field and hull. Cho Hyuk had just enough time to send his final report before his ship exploded. Colonel Nam Ji-hye was coordinating Earth's orbital defenses when the first alien ships reached the planet's atmosphere. The massive platforms in geosynchronous orbit opened fire with everything they had, but their weapons were designed to stop asteroids, not warships. Platform 7 is taking heavy damage, her communications officer reported. They are requesting immediate support. There is no support to give, she replied bitterly. Tell them to hold position as long as possible. Platform 7 died in a burst of white light as alien plasma beams overloaded its power core. 6,000 people were killed in an instant. Platform 3 followed minutes later. Then Platform 12 Dr. Park Min-ji was in the emergency command bunker beneath Geneva when the reports started coming in. The orbital battle was lost. Earth's fleet was scattered and dying. The alien ground invasion would begin within hours. Doctor, we have a message from the Himalayan facility, her aide announced. Dr. Yoon-jae-soo says Project Prometheus will launch in 30 minutes. 30 minutes? Park Min-ji stared at the tactical display showing hundreds of alien ships approaching Earth. Will that be enough time? It has to be. Captain Lim Tae-hyung made his final decision as the Daegu's vengeance limped toward the alien cruiser. His ship was dying, his crew was dying, but he could still make their deaths mean something. All hands? This is the captain. We are going to ram the enemy vessel. It has been an honor serving with you all. He pushed the throttle to maximum and aimed his broken destroyer directly at the alien ship's bridge. The Caltharian seemed to realize what he was doing at the last moment, but it was too late to change course. The Vengeance struck the cruiser's shields at ramming speed. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the destroyer's remaining antimatter fuel exploded in a blast that could be seen from Earth's surface. When the light faded, both ships were gone. First blood to humanity, Admiral Bae Sunwoo whispered, as he watched the explosion, but it was only one alien ship against 1,000. The victory felt hollow. Flight leader Han Ye-jin followed Tae-hyung's example and led her squadron in a final desperate attack. 20 fighters moving at maximum velocity slammed into an alien battleship's hull. The shields absorbed most of the impact, but a few fighters punched through to detonate against the armored dragon leader. To all remaining fighters, she broadcast as her damaged craft spun toward another enemy ship. Follow me in. Make it count. Her voice cut off as her fighter exploded against an alien destroyer's hull. One by one, the other fighters followed her example. They could not win, but they could show the galaxy that humans died fighting. Emperor Zalthek watched the battle from his command throne aboard the Eternal Dominance. The human resistance was more fierce than he had expected, but ultimately meaningless. Their primitive weapons could barely scratch his ship's hull's. Status report, he commanded. We have destroyed 90% of their space fleet, his tactical officer reported. Resistance is collapsing. Ground invasion can begin immediately. Excellent. Begin bombardment of their major cities. I want the survivors to understand the price of defiance. Admiral Vextar was preparing to give the bombardment order when something appeared on his sensors that made him freeze. A new contact had emerged from Earth's surface, moving toward the fleet at impossible speed. What is that? He demanded. The sensor operator's voice shook as he read the display. Unknown contact, sir. It is enormous. 50 kilometers from end to end. I have never seen anything like it. Vextar stared at the readings in disbelief. No ship could be that large and still be functional. The structural stresses alone would tear it apart. It has to be some kind of decoy, he decided. A desperate bluff by a dying species. But as the massive shape grew larger on their screens, even Vexatar began to doubt his own words. The ship was real, and it was heading straight for them. Admiral Bae Sunwoo was rallying the survivors of his fleet when his communications officer shouted in excitement, "Sir, something is coming up from Earth. Something big." On his tactical display, a new symbol appeared. It was marked as friendly, but the size readings had to be wrong. No human ship was 50 kilometers long. This is Admiral Bae to unknown vessel. Please identify yourself. The response came in a calm, familiar voice. This is Captain Wan Jae-hwan aboard the UHFS Prometheus. Sorry we are late to the party, Admiral. We had some technical difficulties during launch. Bae Sunwoo felt his heart stop. The Prometheus was real. Humanity's secret weapon was finally here. Emperor Zalthek leaned forward on his throne as reports flooded in about the massive human ship. It was larger than anything in his fleet, including his own super dreadnought. But size meant nothing without weapons and shields. Open fire, he ordered. Destroy that abomination before it can enter. The combined firepower of 1,000 alien warships struck the Prometheus with the force of a small star going supernova. Energy beams hot enough to melt steel converged on the human ship's hull. Plasma bolts carrying the power of nuclear weapons exploded against its shields. The attack was so intense that it created its own aurora in the vacuum of space. When the light faded, every Caltharian expected to see debris and twisted metal. Instead, the Prometheus hung in space completely undamaged. Its revolutionary shields had absorbed an attack that could have destroyed worlds, and the energy readings showed they had barely been tested. Impossible, Admiral Vextar whispered from the bridge of his flagship. No shields are that strong. Nothing could survive that bombardment. Emperor Zalthek rose from his throne, his forearms trembling with rage. What kind of technology do these primitives possess? Scan that ship immediately. I want to know how their defenses work. The scan results came back within moments, but they made no sense. The Prometheus was protected by energy fields that operated on principles Caltharian science did not recognize: gravity manipulation, quantum interference patterns, and something the computers could only describe as temporal displacement. Captain Wan Jae-hwan allowed himself a small smile as he reviewed the damage reports, or rather, the complete lack of damage reports. Dr. Yoon Jisu's team had built something truly magnificent. Status report, he requested calmly. All systems nominal, Captain, replied Dr. Oh Sunmi from her position at the science station. Shields absorbed the entire bombardment with minimal energy drain. Primary weapons are fully charged and ready to fire. Target selection? Asked Commander Yu Dong-hae from the weapons console. His hands moved over controls that had never been used in actual combat. Antimatter batteries, gravity manipulators, quantum torpedo tubes, weapons that existed at the very edge of human understanding. Begin with the outer escort ships, Wan Jae-hwan ordered. Let us show them what Earth's children have learned, Admiral. Bae Sunwoo watched from his crippled command ship as the Prometheus prepared to engage. The human vessel was so large that it had its own gravity field. His instruments were registering energy signatures unlike anything in Earth's database. All surviving ships, pull back to minimum safe distance, he commanded. Let the Prometheus work. The first shot from humanity's secret weapon was almost gentle. A thin beam of coherent antimatter lanced out from the ship's forward battery and touched a Caltharian destroyer. The alien vessel, protected by shields that had never been penetrated, simply ceased to exist. Matter and antimatter met and annihilated each other in perfect balance, releasing energy that briefly outshone the local sun direct hit. Yu Dong-hae reported with satisfaction. Target completely destroyed. The Caltharian fleet responded with stunned silence. One of their destroyers, a ship that could level cities, had been erased from existence by a single shot. Emperor Zalthek's voice crackled over the communication, channels filled with disbelief and growing fear. All ships concentrate fire on that human vessel. Use everything we have. But the Prometheus was already moving to its next target. Gravity manipulators bent space around a Caltharian cruiser, creating a localized field so intense that the alien ship was crushed into a sphere of twisted metal no larger than a basketball. The crew of 8,000 warriors died so quickly, they never had time to scream. 2 down, Yu Dong-hae announced. Quantum torpedo tubes are ready to fire. The quantum torpedoes were Dr. Yoon Jisu's masterpiece. They existed in a state of probability until the moment of impact, allowing them to phase through any physical barrier. A spread of 6 torpedoes passed harmlessly through a Caltharian battleship's hull and detonated inside the vessel's core. The battleship died from the inside out as exotic matter reactions consumed its power plant. The explosion was visible from Earth as the massive warship tore itself apart. Admiral Vextar was shouting orders on his bridge as ship after ship vanished from his tactical display. Deploy the heavy cruisers, Use the plasma bombardment cannons. The Caltharian heavy weapons were designed to crack the crust of planets. When they fired at the Prometheus, the energy release was so intense that it ionized the space between the ships. But the human vessel's shields held firm and its return fire was devastating. Wan Jiewan stood calmly at the center of his bridge as chaos erupted around the alien fleet. His ship was built using theories that pushed human science to its absolute limits. Antimatter contained in magnetic bottles, gravity waves generated by rotating neutronium cores, quantum computers that operated in multiple dimensions simultaneously, Captain. The alien flagship is approaching, Dr. Oh Sunmi reported. The Emperor's super dreadnought is moving to engage us directly. The Eternal Dominance was a mobile fortress that had conquered entire star systems. 25 kilometers of armor, weapons, and shields that had never been defeated in 3,000 years of galactic warfare. Emperor Zaltek himself stood on its bridge, his glowing eyes fixed on the human ship that had destroyed a third of his fleet. "This ends now," he declared. "Target their engines. Disable that abomination so we can study its wreckage." The super dreadnought's main guns were larger than most spacecraft. When they fired, the energy beams were visible from Mars as columns of coherent light that could melt asteroids. They struck the Prometheus with enough force to shift the ship's position in space for a moment. The human vessel's shields flickered and sparked. Emergency lights flashed on the bridge as power conduits overloaded from the massive energy input. Dr. Oh Sunmi's instruments showed dangerous fluctuations in the shield matrix, shield strength, down to 60%, she reported. "If they hit us like that again, they won't get the chance," Wan Jiewan interrupted. "Commander Yu, target their main weapon systems. Full antimatter barrage." The Prometheus unleashed its full fury for the first time. 12 antimatter cannons fired in perfect synchronization, sending beams of pure annihilation toward the Emperor's flagship. The Eternal Dominance's shields, which had withstood the weapons of 100 worlds, lasted exactly 3 seconds. The antimatter beams punched through the super dreadnought's armor like hot knives through butter. Explosions rippled along the massive hull, as weapon batteries and power conduits were vaporized. The ship that had been the terror of the galaxy was suddenly bleeding atmosphere, and dying crew members into the void. Emperor Zalthek felt his flagship shudder beneath his feet as the human weapons tore through deck after deck. His bridge crew was in panic as damage reports flooded their systems. "Your Majesty, we must retreat," his admiral pleaded. "The ship cannot take much more of this punishment." "Retreat?" Zaltek's voice was a mix of rage and disbelief. "The Caltharian Empire does not retreat from primitives. Deploy the bioweapons, release the plague ships." But it was too late for desperate measures. The Prometheus had already shifted its target to the fleet's command vessels. Gravity waves crushed communication ships into compact balls of metal. Quantum torpedoes phase-shifted through the hulls of the fleet's flagship carriers. Antimatter beams erased entire squadrons from existence with surgical precision. Admiral Vextar was trying to coordinate a retreat when his own ship came under direct attack. The Dominion's fist had ruled the spaceways for centuries, but against human technology it was helpless. A single antimatter beam struck the ship's power core, and the massive dreadnought simply vanished in a flash of pure energy. Captain Shin Kyung-min was monitoring the battle from Earth's surface when the impossible reports started coming in. The alien fleet was not just being defeated, it was being annihilated with methodical precision. "Sir, our long-range sensors show alien ships retreating from the battle zone," his communications officer reported with wonder. "The Prometheus is pursuing and destroying them as they flee." Wan Jiewan felt no satisfaction as he watched the alien fleet disintegrate. These beings had come to enslave his species and harvest their genetic material. They had destroyed Europa as a demonstration of power. "They deserve no mercy, Captain. We have the Emperor's flagship on sensors," Yu Donghae reported. "The Eternal Dominance is badly damaged but still functional. It is attempting to escape." "Not acceptable," Wan Jiewan replied coldly. "Target their engines. I want that ship disabled, not destroyed. The Emperor will answer for what he has done." The gravity manipulators reached out across space and seized the fleeing super dreadnought. The massive ship struggled against forces it could not understand as invisible hands of warped space-time pulled it back toward the human vessel. Emperor Zaltek watched in horror as his flagship was dragged helplessly toward the Prometheus. The human ship loomed larger and larger until it filled every viewport. He could see weapon systems that defied comprehension, hull plating that seemed to absorb light itself, and engines that bent space around them like a dark mirror. "This is Captain Wan Jae-wan of the Earth vessel Prometheus," a calm human voice announced over the communication channels. "Emperor Zalthek, you are hereby ordered to surrender unconditionally. Your fleet has been destroyed and your flagship is disabled. Further resistance is futile." Around them, the remnants of the Caltharian armada fled into hyperspace. Of the 1,000 ships that had arrived to conquer Earth, fewer than 50 escaped. The news of the Caltharian Empire's defeat spread across the galaxy at the speed of hyperspace communication. On worlds that had been enslaved for thousands of years, populations that had never known freedom looked up at the stars and dared to hope. Captain Wan Jae-hwan stood in the brig of the Prometheus, looking through reinforced transparent aluminum at Emperor Zalthek. The former ruler of half the galaxy sat on a simple metal bench, his forearms chained with restraints made from Earth's strongest materials. "Your people will come for me," Zalthek said, with what remained of his imperial arrogance. "The Empire has stood for 3 millennia. One defeat does not end our rule. Your empire ended the moment you threatened Earth," Wan Jae-wan replied calmly. "What happens next depends on how quickly your surviving followers realize that fact." He was right. Within days of the solar system, battle Caltharian worlds throughout the galaxy began declaring independence. The species they had conquered rose up in rebellion. Provincial governors who had ruled with absolute authority found themselves facing angry populations with nothing left to lose. Admiral Park Seung-hwan commanded the second human battleship, the UHFS Sejong, as it appeared over the Caltharian capital world. The massive vessel dropped out of hyperspace directly above the Imperial Palace, its weapons trained on the government complex below. "This is Admiral Park of the Earth Defense Force," she broadcast to the planet's communication networks. "The Caltharian Empire is dissolved by order of the Galactic Liberation Alliance. All military forces will surrender immediately or face the consequences." The response came from General Korthak, the highest-ranking Caltharian officer still alive. "You cannot simply declare our empire dissolved, human. We have colonies on 200 worlds. Our military—" "Your military is scattered and demoralized," Park interrupted. "Your emperor is our prisoner. Your fleet is destroyed. You have 2 choices: peaceful surrender or total annihilation. Choose wisely." To demonstrate her point, she ordered a single antimatter beam to be fired at an uninhabited mountain range. The peak simply vanished, leaving a perfectly smooth crater 10 kilometers across. The message was unmistakable. Within hours, Caltharian forces across the galaxy began laying down their weapons. Dr. Park Minji found herself thrust into the role of humanity's chief diplomat as former slaves and conquered peoples sent representatives to Earth. The hidden facility that had once housed Project Prometheus was converted into the headquarters of what would become the Galactic Confederation. "Turidi-siu. Selthani delegation is requesting immediate military support," her aide reported. "The Caltharian garrison on their homeworld is refusing to surrender. Tell them the Sejong will arrive in their system within the week," Park replied. "Admiral Park has orders to liberate any world that requests our assistance." Commander Jung. Dekyan led the occupation forces that took control of former Caltharian military installations. The aliens had built fortress worlds designed to project power across entire sectors. Now those same fortresses were being dismantled by the species they had once oppressed. "Sir, we have discovered the bioweapons laboratory the Emperor mentioned," one of her officers reported. "You need to see this." The laboratory was a nightmare of genetic experimentation and torture. Thousands of beings from dozens of species had been used as test subjects for weapons designed to target specific genetic markers. The Caltharians had planned to wipe out entire civilizations with engineered plagues. "Burn it," Jong Dayun ordered. "All of it. Nothing from this place survives." Dr. Kim Hye-young was tasked with creating a new system of galactic government to replace the Empire. The Galactic Confederation would be based on voluntary membership and mutual defense, not conquest and slavery. The challenge, she explained to the founding assembly, is creating something that can protect smaller species from future threats, while respecting their independence. We cannot simply replace the Caltharian Empire with a human one. The solution was elegant in its simplicity. Each world would govern itself according to its own laws and customs, but all members would contribute to a common defense force protected by human battleships. Any world that threatened the peace would face the combined might of the entire galaxy. Captain Kang Ji-won was promoted to admiral and given command of the growing human fleet. In addition to the Prometheus and Sejong, Earth's shipyards were producing smaller vessels based on the same revolutionary technology. The Seoul, Busan, and Daegu were already under construction. Sir, the Myothani have requested a permanent human squadron in their system, his aide reported. They are concerned about Caltharian remnants in the Outer Rim. Grant the request, Kang replied. Deploy the destroyer squadron from Luna Base. And make sure they understand. We are there to protect, not to rule. This distinction was crucial to everything humanity was trying to build. Unlike the Caltharians, humans had no desire to govern other species. They wanted to ensure that no one else would suffer as Earth had almost suffered. Admiral Bae Sun-woo, survivor of the desperate defense of Earth, was put in charge of training the new Galactic Defense Force. Former slaves learned to operate human weapons and shield technology. Species that had been enemies under Caltharian rule learned to work together. Remember, he told a class of mixed alien recruits, we are not soldiers of conquest. We are guardians of freedom. Our job is to make sure that no empire ever again threatens innocent worlds. Flight leader Han Ye-jin had survived the Battle of Earth and now commanded a mixed squadron of human and alien pilots. Her wingman was a former Caltharian fighter pilot named Vektal who had defected during the occupation. It still feels strange, Vektal admitted as they patrolled the border regions, fighting alongside the species we once tried to conquer. The strange part is that it works, Han replied. Turns out freedom is something everyone can understand, regardless of what planet they come from. Emperor Zaltek remained in human custody on a secure facility orbiting Saturn. He was not executed. Humanity had decided that becoming like their enemies was not the path to lasting peace. But he would spend the rest of his long life watching his empire's former subjects build something better. Do you ever regret it, Doctor? Park Min-ji asked during one of her regular interviews with the former emperor. All the suffering you caused? All the worlds you destroyed? Zaltek was quiet for a long time before answering. I regret that we ever found your solar system. If we had left you alone, the Empire might have lasted another 1,000 years, and millions more beings would have lived and died as slaves, Park replied. Your empire needed to end. The only question was, who would end it? Captain Won Jae-won, retired from active duty after 5 years of liberation campaigns. The Prometheus was turned over to a joint crew of humans and former slaves, symbolizing the multi-species cooperation that had become the foundation of galactic peace. He returned to Earth to find a world transformed. The near-extinction experience had united humanity like nothing in their history. The secret rivalries between nations seemed petty compared to the vast community of worlds they now helped protect. Any regrets? Dr. Yoon Jisoo asked him during a celebration of the 5th anniversary of Liberation Day. Only one, Won replied, that we had to build weapons of such terrible power. But perhaps that is the price of protecting something precious. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about the consequences of threatening humanity's home. Word spread to every corner of known space. Earth was protected by technology that could destroy entire fleets. But more importantly, it was protected by beings who valued freedom above conquest. Other species began developing their own advanced technologies, inspired by humanity's example. The fear of another empire rising to replace the Caltharians drove innovation across 1,000 worlds. Soon, the galaxy bristled with defensive capabilities that made large-scale conquest impossible. Dr. Oh Sun-mi, now director of the Galactic Technology Institute oversaw the controlled sharing of human innovations. Antimatter power, gravity manipulation, and quantum computing slowly spread to allied worlds, always with safeguards to prevent their use for aggression. The goal, she explained to a council of alien scientists, is not to make everyone as powerful, as humans, but to make everyone too powerful to be conquered. When every world can defend itself, no one needs to fear invasion. Commander Yu Donghae established the Galactic Defense Academy on Luna, where the next generation of protectors learned to operate humanity's most advanced weapons. The curriculum included not just technical training, but philosophy and ethics. Power without wisdom is how empires are born, he taught his students. We carry these weapons not to conquer, but to ensure that no one else has to live in fear. The sect Caltharian Empire had collapsed beyond repair, just as the title had promised. But in its place rose something unprecedented in galactic history, a voluntary alliance of free worlds, protected by those who had learned that the price of freedom was eternal vigilance. Years later, when new species emerged from unexplored regions of space, they found a galaxy very different from the one the Caltharians had ruled. Instead of an empire built on slavery and fear, they discovered a community based on cooperation and mutual defense. The message was always the same, delivered by species who had once been enemies but now stood together. Welcome to the galaxy. Here everyone is free to choose their own